topic I did want to get to, since we were kind of talking about Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, kind of switching gears here from boxing over to, and here we talk about a lot of different subjects. So we're gonna talk a little bit about some wrestling here for a little bit. So last Sunday was the SummerSlam 2020. They did it in the WWE Thunderdome in Orlando, which was interesting to see, like a virtual crowd there, kind of like they doing with the NBA. That was cool. The event was okay. I mean, it's still weird for me wrestling with no fans there. It's a bit strange to me. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of my favorite moments with SummerSlam. I think personally, it's my favorite event that WWE does. I even like it over WrestleMania.
Well,
There's been a lot of the
before you segue, Fury did say that he was being called out by Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. So just to
oh, Drew
segue,
McIntyre.
yeah, Drew McIntyre. I'm sorry if I butchered his last name, but yeah, I just wanted to segue that in because he
I
said that's a
mean,
part of what could happen if he doesn't get a boxing match.
right. I mean, Fury had that he did that thing last year, right, with
Right.
them,
Yeah. Yeah.
with Braun Strowman, I think his name is. So, yeah, I mean, why not? Hey,
People from the
hey,
UK, no, or
yeah,
at that side of the world.
yeah, they're both from the UK. I think McIntyre, I think he's from Ireland, if I'm not
Right.
mistaken. But yeah, man, I mean, that would be dope. Why not? Why not do that? Look, in fact, I think I forgot who he wrestled on the event, McIntyre, but I think he ended up winning his title. Oh yeah, he wrestled Randy Orton. That's who it was.
Yep. Okay.
It was crazy that he's still around. You know what I mean? He's still around, having good matches and stuff. Shout out to him, for being in the game for
RKO.
this long, man. Yeah, and having probably the best, most over finisher. I know he got that from DDP, but it's still one of the most over finishers in the game, probably the most over
Definitely.
finisher.
Oh yeah.
Um, the first SummerSlam moment that comes to mind, though, for me is actually SummerSlam 2000. This is like at the height of my fandom, I think, where WWE in the year 2000 could do no wrong, except for WrestleMania that year for some reason. But it was just a great show. You had The Rock, Triple H, and Kurt Angle in the main event. But the match I want to talk about is the first TLC match with the
Oof.
Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian. Man, that was such crazy matches to look back on those, man, and how far, how much they've adopted the ladder match so much to where it has like its own pay-per-view with the Money in the Bank thing and stuff.
Hmm.
So it was just a great show, man, and it was WWE at its absolute best in the year 2000, man. Just cranking out great show after great show, and it was at that time when The Rock was just so popular, man. Like I remember getting like Valentine's Day cards and shit in school with The Rock and stuff, man. It was crazy, man. But what are some of your favorite moments from SummerSlam?
SummerSlam. I just remember it being popular. Like I don't have a moment in my head like that because I'm more of a Royal Rumble guy and more of a WrestleMania guy. I just love Royal Rumble. Like something about
Everybody
Royal
does,
Rumble,
right?
yo, that and Survivor Series too. Like Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam. They always have been like parallel when it came to
Right.
excitement. Especially as a young teen or as I got older. I always got excited for those, but Royal Rumble for some reason is just like a staple for me. So SummerSlam, I didn't get to watch it, but I could see the lineup for the one that you mentioned, the 2000 one, and I love triple threat matches. I loved four-way matches. I love the elimination matches. If I'm not mistaken, SummerSlam is where all that uh like those cage matches that they used to have with it was like the ones that they had
Oh, with the blue
specialized.
steel,
Yeah.
the blue cage. I mean,
Yeah, bro, like
yeah,
that's throwback right there, and it says what it means, like SummerSlam, like I think in WCW they had like Bash at the Beach and stuff like that. So like everybody, used to look forward to those events in the summer, and SummerSlam was the it thing. So
For
I don't know.
sure.
I remember it being so like clutch. You know what I like?
Yeah.
At least I know I get to watch this. I'm gonna be good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man, for sure, man. I loved a lot of the Summer Slams. It's definitely like I always watch. I don't if I watch any of the new product, it's always like the four major shows. It's always like WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, and SummerSlam. And sometimes the Survivor Series is like the least one that I'll probably
Right.
catch, but it's still definitely up there. That's classic stuff too, man. But yeah, SummerSlam. You're talking about the cages, man. You know what? Match I remember is there's two that stuck out in my head. First was like Ultimate Warrior against Rick Rude, in the steel cage from SummerSlam 1990. That was
Wow.
like Warrior at like his I don't know if he was at his most popular. It probably was after he beat Hogan at WrestleMania 6. He always had good matches with Rick Rude. Rick Rude always made him look good. And
Yes,
then
he did. Yes, he
um
did.
my
That is not
personal
a lie.
Oh yeah, now Rick, and what's crazy is that was the last time Rick Rude was on a WWF pay-per-view until he came back in '97 as like that enforcer with
Right.
DX and
And
stuff, which is
he gave some
crazy.
clubbing clotheslines on the outside of the ring.
It's just
Nasty.
crazy to me, man, that Rick Rude never got like that shot at the top. You know what I mean? Like he never got that program with Hogan. But I guess with Warrior he
There's
did,
a
but he
lot of
never got it.
wrestlers like that. I
Yeah,
mean, not a
Jake the
lot,
Snake.
but yeah,
Ted DiBiase, yeah, a
exactly.
lot of guys who
Ted
never,
DiBiase.
yeah,
Yep. Hell yeah.
who never got like that moment for them with the world title or a world title shot. Even Macho Man, bro. Like I was thinking about this, like after he won it, like all of his matches on pay-per-views were like tag team matches with Hogan, with the Mega Powers and stuff.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to
it
keep
is
it
what it
close
is.
to what was popular.
Right, right. I'm sure that's probably what they were
It was a
thinking back
marketing
that
type
time.
of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know how it is. It's kind of like that usually. But I liked another cage match I liked that was at SummerSlam. Classic, bro. Bret Hart versus Owen Hart.
Yeah.
SummerSlam '94 in
That
Chicago.
is a classic. I think
Um, Best
looking
cage
back at it,
match
I feel
probably
like
ever.
it wasn't like I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now. Is what I'm how I
Yeah,
feel.
man. It's crazy to think that no blood in that cage match and the way they do it, because the thing is like a cage match, if you go back to like the NWA days and stuff, like it's supposed to be like a blow off. It's supposed to be like a bloody affair. It's a cage so nobody can get in and you can't get out, right?
Hmm.
But the blue steel cages in WWF, it's like the winner is the first one to escape. So those matches can be hit or miss, and I think this was definitely the best one of those, like of the blue steel cages,
Yeah.
because the way Owen was just damn man, it makes you miss him, bro. Like just his matches with Brett, either WrestleMania 10 match too, it's just like man, everything they did was just so good. Like the amount of tries he tried to escape and stuff. Like even in the very beginning of the match, immediately attacking Brett as soon as he gets in, tries to escape. Like
What
just
a workout. That
little
had to be a huge workout for
yo,
Brett.
it's just a little snippet there. And you know what? Kind of random here because we talked about this last week where Brett has his own little podcast too where he talks
I
about
gotta
stuff.
check it
and
out. Damn.
and one of them, I guess he talked about how he always wanted to do a ladder match in WWE, and that he feels like Shawn Michaels stole that idea from them, and that he wanted it to be originally a ladder match between him and Owen instead of a cage match. And they bypassed on that since Michaels did it with Razor Ramon at WrestleMania 10. I mean,
Mm.
if it was this era, they probably could have still done it. You know what I'm saying? Like, um, but I think the both matches are equally as good to me, either way. But I would have liked to have seen that though, like a Brett Owen ladder match. Like that sounds awesome. Like I would have
It
loved to.
would have been awesome, especially more in this era. But thinking back, what ex I mean, you have to tell the story good because back in the days, we always used to think about the finish. Like
Right.
in a weird way, like Brett surpassed the whole stigma thing of having the perfect finish because he had a submission, and so did Owen. So they have the both same submission thing, and they still pulled it off in the steel cage match. I think it would have worked perfectly in a ladder match, but that's where the whole what's it called when like the promoter, he's thinking outside the box or whatever.
Mm.
And Shawn Michaels is more of a agile guy. He can move or whatever. And Razor Ramon, he brings in that crowd, that that cool effect. So I could see why that was picked first, or why Brett was not happy that Sean stole his
Yo,
thing, because that all came from Calgary. That
yeah,
the
they did
stamp.
it in the Stampede Wrestling,
Yeah,
and
Stamping Wrestling. Yeah.
the thing about Brett is he's grumpy, he's bitter, but he don't give a damn
Yeah,
though. So
exactly.
I
He's
like it. Like
unapologetic.
he's just gonna say whatever. Like I remember there's an interview where he was like Triple H is a 4 out of 10 as a wrestler. I was like, dog, like yo. I mean, like I'm not like I like Triple H. I'm actually a fan of his, but like even if I'm like being the biggest nitpicker, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna rate him higher than a 4, dog. Like
Nah,
that's
Triple H has
crazy,
his
bro.
his line
I mean, he
of
never
beat
has.
downs. He knows how to whoop ass
Yeah, like I
in
don't
the
think
ring.
he doesn't have like one classic promo you can go to, but like actually, which one he might be for him was the night, and this is like going back to like 1999, the night where he pulls up, and you can't do this storyline today because it's like technically rape, I guess, or
Oh
like
yeah,
so
but
when a
right.
rotary came out and interrupted the wedding for Steph and
Oh
Test,
yep,
and
yep,
then like
yep,
he
yep, yep.
shows a video of him like
Yeah,
like drugging Stephanie, dog, and then
yeah.
doing
And
it. Then
she's like
and he's like, and
asleep, and
yeah,
he's talking to her, and
and he's like, we commenced the marriage all night long, and it's like, bro, she doesn't remember that was rape, nigga. Like,
yeah,
what?
you can't
Yeah,
do
you
that
can't do
shit.
that today, but like that
You
kind of
can't do
stuff,
that.
I always remember that shit was classic. And then he had, a bunch of promos with the what was it with the and the other one he can't do today was remember when they dressed up like the Nation of Domination, like all in blackface,
Oh
or
yeah,
his X
that's
Pac was.
another.
No, you can't do that now.
Can't
It's
do
like, don't
that
even try it.
either.
Yeah,
X
don't
Pac
even
coming
try
out
it.
looking like Mark Henry.
Yeah, I know.
Oh
That
man.
didn't age that well. Dog. It was
Yeah,
like,
because then now that's fat shaming. Like
yeah.
this
I mean,
so.
but it was a different time though, man, for sure. But another one, man, because I know you're a fan. I just heard a episode about this was SummerSlam 2005, man. Shawn Michaels against Hulk Hogan. That was one of
Wow.
those controversial ones because I guess a lot of the backstage politics. It was supposed to be a trilogy or whatever it was, and a lot of miscommunication between the two. And then in the ring, and like Shawn Michaels almost like in brilliant way, like did almost a parody of a Hulk Hogan match, but it was also one of the best Hulk Hogan matches at the same time. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But he was overselling like a motherfucker in that one, bro. Like some spots were like copying Mr. Perfect, but like at the end where he gets the boot and then he kind of gets up again, like he might have gone overboard with it, but it
Yeah.
was entertaining though. At the end of the day, that's kind of what makes it stand out is to watch him do that kind of stuff.
I wish they would have had more fights. The one thing that I see a difference in between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and versus like a Rock or Hogan is that these guys' stature is like, they're just bigger people. You know what I'm saying? So they're the whole strong style, as they say, like they say in Japan. Hogan got that down packed. You know what I'm saying? But after you do it for so many years and you hulk up and you do all this stuff where, some of that stuff is not relevant anymore. The whole hulking up thing, but then there's some people that still love it. You can't ask for more from the match, but at the end of the day, Sean is still mad. He wasn't happy with the outcome, but it went. It's good for the ages. It's just both guys, they aged well for wrestling, but for each other they didn't.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, Sean could still go, in '05, and Hogan could
Hell
too, but
yeah.
it was like he needed the right guy. Like in when he came back, like in 2002. A lot of the guys he had good matches with were like Chris Jericho, Edge and tag teams, The Rock, even Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, like a lot of the guys who were on SmackDown at that time. So, and like I said, that's probably the best roster that any company's ever had when Shawn Michaels came back, like in 2002. Um,
Yeah. Plus,
so
Brock Lesnar was throwing people around at that time, wasn't
yeah, I mean,
he? Yeah.
he bear hugged Hogan, and so that was a different time though, where Hogan was like, he was actually losing matches clean, and it wasn't like all
Yeah.
these politics there, and there couldn't have been because he wasn't. I mean, technically, I mean, he got the biggest ovation at WrestleMania 18. There was like one Raw, it might have been the next night where they gave him like a standing applause for like felt like forever. So he was still over like a motherfucker, and I think
I still
people really,
remember. I still remember playing SmackDown versus Raw on PlayStation, and my homie picking Hulk Hogan. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, have you been watching SmackDown lately? Like, this dude he's super popular right now.
yeah,
And then
man.
it wasn't until that we played the game that I was like, well, yeah, you're right. He's over. Like, he was so over at that time.
Yeah, man. He was one of the he. That's probably why they gave him the belt again for even if it was just for like a
Yeah.
little bit, man. But he was definitely one of those guys, and SummerSlam, he's kind of the genesis of all of that. Why the company was
Yeah.
so big. It
It's
was
facts.
it was
Big
all
facts.
on his back. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
he's definitely one of those guys. But another one though, man, that I always go back to. We were talking about him a little bit. And this one probably because I was a kid watching. I think I had this match like on like a VHS tape was Bret Hart versus Mr. Perfect, SummerSlam
Oh,
'91 for the Intercontinental title. That one's still up there, man. Still holds up. In fact, man, you know how they call Shawn Michaels Mr. WrestleMania? You could probably call Bret Mr. SummerSlam because he has a lot of good matches at SummerSlam, like in a row, too. But maybe I'm not thinking of everybody there because his last SummerSlam was in '97. So and there's of course been a shitload of SummerSlam since
yeah.
then. So, but
I
he
think
he
John
sticks out
Cena
to
is up
me.
there. John Cena.
Yeah,
If you're a
he
John
has to
Cena
be.
fan, you might say John Cena. You might say Steve Austin, right? You might
Austin. I
say
mean, he had that man. When I think of SummerSlam matches with him, I
Kurt
think of
Angle
the
in
Kurt Angle
2001.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was really good. That was a great match too. Um, yeah, definitely a good one. The what was it? The year after, I don't know if he was there anymore. Cause he kind of. It's crazy to think that his run wasn't that long. Like it was like '97 or like '96, right? When he
Hmm.
got there, and then it was like a wrap after 2001, like in '02, like when he started doing the stuff with Scott Hall. Like after that, it was really over. Like he came back, had like a match with Bischoff, and then
But
after
that
that, he
was
had a
the
match with
era
The
of
Rock, and then that was it.
it's
Yeah,
all Brock and Cena after that.
yeah. I
And Big
think
Show and those guys.
it might have had it probably had to do with him, the neck injury, man. We probably got like
Absolutely.
borrowed time. Yeah, that's probably what it was, man, because um that neck injury, he worked without having surgery, I think, for like a while, and then he left in '99, was gone for a year, then came back and had that run
Yeah, new
in
marriage,
2001. So
bunch of
new
stuff going
marriage.
on.
Yeah, man. So
And that marriage happened to be with the same people that we're talking about after he left, Brock Lesnar. Um, because Brock Lesnar versus The Rock was in 2002, and then he's got a new partner, and it happens to be Steve Austin's ex. So it's like, damn,
I think
all that in combination,
I
it's a
think
lot
that's
to
the
deal with.
best one actually. That's the best SummerSlam, I think, 2002. That
Oh
one had a
yeah,
lot of good matches, man.
hell yeah.
That one was like the Brock Lesnar versus The Rock. You had Shawn Michaels against Triple H in his comeback. You had like
Is that the ladder match one?
no, 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 no. It wasn't a ladder match. Oh yeah, where there was a ladder in it, where he jumps off a ladder, but I don't think it was a ladder match. Um, then they had what else was on there? Eddie Guerrero against Edge, Benoit against RVD. Like they had a lot of good matches on that card, man. Um,
I love RVD
Definitely.
too.
RVD
Shout
is
out
one
to
of those
RVD.
guys. Yeah, man. He's one of those guys that I watched ECW just for him for a while, man. Like when I first started watching that show, and I got caught on late. Like I started watching it when they got on that TNN, so I didn't watch it when it was like 97, 98. Like 99 is when I started watching it. But RVD, man, he was the whole effing show at that time for sure. He was definitely my favorite wrestler around that time period for sure, because I would watch him just to see what he would do next, like if he
He's
was gonna do
incredible.
something I never seen before. So he was definitely one of those guys, man. But you know, hopefully he's healthy now. I don't know if he's been like beat up from all the bumps he was taking, because his style is super physical. And I
So
heard he was
what
stiff
happened? What happened to this past week in the on Sunday?
at SummerSlam.
Yeah,
What else was there? I know they had I think it was women's matches. Like Asuka took on Bailey, and then she took on Sasha Banks later on. So they had like a storyline
I
there.
like Sasha Banks. She's real good.
Yeah, she's very good, man. In fact, if you have the WWE Network, they have this show on there now called Timeline, and it has like just a timeline of people's feuds. So they had one on Sasha Banks and Bailey when they did like the NXT takeover in Brooklyn, and it goes over like how they started and got into wrestling. So that shit was really dope. But there's one before that where they had with AJ Styles and John Cena, and they showed their match at SummerSlam 2016, and that was another one of those matches that was great. In fact, you might be right with John Cena, because John Cena also has that match with Daniel Bryan from 2013. That's really
Yeah,
really good, and that actually maybe that SummerSlam, because that SummerSlam also had CM Punk against Brock Lesnar too, and that's like two like real classic matches like on one pay-per-view too. So that one might have been up there for one of the best SummerSlams too, for sure.
and so like looking at this breakdown of everything that happened, what was the best outcome when it came to like this week that just passed with because like I'm seeing like the lineup and it looks good. I see Rey Mysterio was there. I
Oh, how could I
see.
forget that, man? Rey Mysterio's son had like his first match against Seth Rollins. That was actually pretty dope. The way they did it and everything, it was pretty good, man. Especially for the kid's first match, like the way they did it, the story they told was really good, man. I thought they pulled it off, but it
Because the
is
one
it's
thing that
weird though.
populated on my timeline was that people kept mentioning that Chris Benoit was in the little crowd of,
Oh, yeah,
and I'm like, what the hell's
yeah,
going on? And I didn't piece it together because I kept thinking that that was like a SmackDown segment,
right.
and I wasn't thinking about SummerSlam.
Yeah. It was
I
just a
should have
fan,
been.
I think, who just put up like his photo or like a cutout of him on the
Yeah.
screen, bro. And like, yeah, man, you can't. It's unfortunate, man, but Benoit, he killed his wife and his son, so it's
It's
kind of
like
like,
taboo to some people.
yeah, man, it sucks, bro, because like in the ring, he really was like he was probably one of the best for sure, or the best, man.
Yeah.
Like I look
And
back, it just so many great matches with him, dude. Like it's crazy.
if you watch the movie I think it's called Concussion with Will Smith,
Oh,
you'll yeah, I think that's a brilliant movie and Will did a great job, but like I really feel like there was a lot of wrestlers that just had no idea, you know what I'm saying? They're just giving their all to their profession.
yeah, I mean, I could
And
see that for
you know what
sure.
I'm
I mean,
saying? And but I don't want to angle it that way to make it seem like, that everything was right and blah blah blah. But I a kid didn't know about these things. When I was a kid playing
yeah,
baseball, playing whatever, I didn't know about all these things, and I wanted to be a, a professional, whatever, baseball, basketball. I really wasn't into football like that. But if I would have saw a lane for it, I would have took it because I love
yeah.
athletic composition.
Yeah, man. I mean, that whole thing with him is like, um, there's so many angles you could take with that. They did a good episode on the Dark Side of the Ring, which is
Oh,
Vice
I
did on
saw
like
that.
on
That was
Benoit. That was
perfectly done.
yeah, that was really good because it was a
You
lot about
can't
Eddie.
ask for more.
Yeah,
You can't ask for
yeah.
more.
The only thing
Yeah,
I would
that
have said was,
story.
and maybe you shouldn't like even delve into it, but I feel like they should have put to rest if they could have, like any of the conspiracy theories. But like I know there's people who think, because his Benoit's wife was Kevin Sullivan's
Hmm.
ex-wife or whatever, and then they had this character that was like a satanic worshiper character, so people think Benoit was sacrificed or some shit. And
Oh wow.
then there's that whole Wikipedia thing where somebody posted about Benoit dying way before it was even known that he had that like the events had taken place. You know what I mean?
That's
That he missed the
creepy.
show because yeah. So there's always that weird like that because Wikipedia. I think anybody really can just come in and just type up some stuff. Whatever.
Especially when
Um,
it first came out, there was a lot of that going on.
yeah,
A
and
lot of
then and
it.
now it's like, how do you like explain that? Like the kid, maybe it was just like the craziest coincidence ever. You know what I mean? But like it is
Hmm.
weird. But they could have dwelled into that. But at the same time, because I read that Kevin Sullivan like turned down an interview for it. So maybe the same thing with that kid and the police. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you never know. That might be one of those things where it is what it is, man. Like he snapped one day or over a couple of days. You know what I mean? So um, they went into that with the how. Remember, there was one guy who talked about how like he even killed himself, like how he set everything up and stuff. So it was definitely the way they made it seem that it was like premeditated. It was thought of beforehand.
Yeah, and it's deep when you get into all the CTE stuff. When we talk about his dedication to what he did and how he was before he got to where he was at, how he was a super big time family man and all that. Um, I feel like some of this, what we're talking about, we're segueing away a little bit from what happened last week in SummerSlam, but at the same time, I do want to talk about that with you because that those things are important in general when it comes to sports, like, or should I say in sports in general. But it's super important to have that conversation. It's funny, when I was doing rideshare, when I was doing Uber and Lyft and stuff like that, I had a lady talk to me about it, and it was so weird. I was taking her to a hockey game because we have a hockey team here now, and I was telling her how I love boxing, and she's like, "Oh, they're so brutal and this and that." I'm like, "You're going to a hockey game. I'm
Right.
taking you to a hockey game. So what? You so now one is safer than the other? They're
Yeah,
both."
man. I mean, like some countries, like I didn't know this, like in Switzerland, like and even I think in Norway, where like Cecilia Brækhus is from, like they ban boxing, like or
Oh,
they ban women yeah, for like a long time. Like I think in Switzerland too. So, and now they have like a kind of different version of it over there too. So there's like some countries that like and sometimes there's moments in boxing where you're like, damn, bro. Like, there's a lot of brutality in the sport. But yeah, I feel you, man, because hockey can be just as dangerous, man. You know what I mean? Some people could definitely get hurt doing that shit. So,
yeah. And I used to have like friends of mine that are Floyd Mayweather fans and whatnot, because the whole hit but don't get hit. Uh, quote and whatever is stuck with them, which I think is true. Like, I like that quote. I also like the quote, hit but don't get hit, but be in position to hit. You know what I'm saying? Not hit but don't get hit and then run away. But
right.
um some people didn't like the whole Triple G thing when he used to be like, come on, come hit me, and he would take the punches. And to see that in HD, people were like, whoa, this guy's a little crazy.
Right.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
think he
Like,
did that to like Willie Monroe, something
yeah.
like that, most famously. Yeah, some of that might have just been, getting the other dude out of his game plan, like to come and attack, because it's all premeditated. Because you saw what ended up happening in that fight. He stopped him with like a left hook from from the ropes, like with his back against the ropes. So,
Yeah.
it's definitely premeditated, man. And some people, man, Triple G got a hell of a chin. So, and sometimes it's that Ricardo Mayorga trick. If you could see the punch coming, you might, more than likely you'll be able to take the punch. So, there's also that there. But before we end the show here, I know you wanted to get into some topics here. Before the show, I know you told me you did a versus, fairly recently. So let us know a little bit about that.
1 second. Let me get right to that. I have some things to say. Give me 1 second, folks.
All right. Well, while we're waiting for Raf to come back here, just a real quick, another SummerSlam moment that I love was in SummerSlam '97 with Bret Hart and The Undertaker. That was probably one of the best endings to a match and to a show ever, where Shawn Michaels hit Undertaker with the chair, had to count Bret Hart 1, 2, 3, or he wouldn't be able to perform in the United States anymore. Just that whole ending and how that match went down was awesome.
Yo, that they those see matches like that. You can't wait for the next Monday Night Raw. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right,
you
right. That
just
was one
like
of those.
yeah, you're going to school. You're like, did you see that? Or your friends is talking about it, and everybody's like, I can't wait for Raw. I can't wait for Raw. I can't wait for Raw. So
Yeah,
I used to love those events because like you only had Raw. Like you didn't have SmackDown. You didn't have Twitter and all this. You only had Raw. So like everything was
yeah,
covered on Raw, and
yeah,
then you figure it out from there. Like you know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
It's almost like too much content now, in a way. It's crazy. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
almost like there's too much of it. Like there's SmackDown, Raw, NXT. Do they still have like superstars? I know they got like
I think
305
so.
Live. Like they have
Yeah.
like a bunch of stuff,
And
man.
then I
But
think they have this velocity or I don't know. Yeah, there's so
yeah,
many.
there's
It's
a lot of them,
crazy.
man.
There's too
Um,
much, and I understand why, but like, chill sometimes. Like, I
right?
can't. Yeah, but so there was no big outcome in SummerSlam 2020.
The only thing, Roman Reigns came back at the end of the
Okay,
show. Yeah, he came back.
I heard that
So
he's with Paul Heyman now.
yeah, yeah, that was another thing. They're having another show today, actually, Payback, like just a week later, which is crazy. So yeah, it seems like he might have turned heel actually, which is huge and something he probably should have been done because he is a victim of bad booking for
I
a long
agree.
time, man,
I agree
and
with that.
it led to
Maybe he'll do
people.
that super punch a little bit with a little bit more connect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll see. I mean, he definitely came in, looking like things are about to be different. But we'll see if he changes things like his ring music, because I know he still uses like the Shield stuff. If he changes his look a little bit, I guess we'll find out tonight.
Yeah, let's see. And I am gonna tune in because I swear I thought that was a SmackDown segment. I'm like, I'm not watching another SmackDown. I want to see some
Yeah,
live stuff. And SummerSlam is live. Like obviously it's not like it was, but it's still up there when it comes to presentation because you still have guys like Rey Mysterio performing there, and I like Drew McIntyre. I like Ryan Roman Reigns. So I'm gonna watch Payback tonight.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I'll be checking it out.
Yeah, and then we could cover it on the next episode. We could definitely cover it like all the breakdowns of the matches because I like watching the fights. I like it in the bubble too.
Right.
I'm not
For
bothered by any of it. It's just when you talk about like SummerSlam and then you count like we go head to head with the history of it. Come on,
uh, right.
there's so much history. But going to the verses, uh, is there anything you want to ask me before? Because I'm telling you, I'm gonna go off a little bit here with
No, no,
this.
no. Do your thing. Do your thing. Do your thing,
So
bro.
I wanna give a shout out to all my guys in most valid opinion, Al Could, all those guys there in that hip hop group. Uh, some of that group is some of the core came from my hip hop group, which is called Hooks and Verses, and I have a like another set of friends in Hooks and Verses. I think Hector is in Hooks and Verses.
Yeah,
I
I
have
see
a
your
lot of
post all the time.
friends. Yeah, and it's that's basically like kind of the same worlds, but at the same time, it's just
And this is
we
on Facebook.
it's all on
So
Facebook. Yeah,
yeah, it's
correct.
on
So then
Facebook.
I just got back into the group and we started to talk a lot and right now what's popping right now is Zoom, the Facebook lives and also the verses, doing
Right.
verses on Instagram and stuff like that. So I'm cool with that. I'm like, yo, I'm prepared, was good. I've been wanting to do Facebook lives, whatever.
Right.
So
Right. For
then
sure.
I've been known as this dude that have has judged Mace for a minute now. I've judged 50 for a minute now. There's certain hip hop artists that I judge, but it's not because I hate them. It's not because I think that they trash. I just discredit them for what they're doing at the moment when it comes to their music. And again, I have to say, at the moment, and
Right.
not what they've done in the past, because obviously what they've done in the past is legendary. It's groundbreaking. You know what I'm saying? But going back to the verses, it's basically Gucci Man versus Mace. So I was kind of not really duped in, but like kind of challenged. And the thing is that I love music, and I thought that there would be some like more Gucci Man supporters in the group, but I was mistaken. I'm still looking at comments to see who was agreeing and who was at least giving credit to Gucci and what he's done, because 74 mixtapes, uh 13 albums, that's more than 80 projects that's on paper for this
Right.
dude, and he's from the South and he has an accent, and some people are looking at that like, oh well, he's just whatever, they just gloss over him and they just, okay, he's trash, he's this, he's that. Okay, but so then why take the challenge, you feel me? So you know they wanted to do it. I'm like, cool. One day notice, not even one day notice, a couple hours notice. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And I came up with a list, very difficult to do with a guy with this kind of resume. And I'm texting my homies that love Gucci. I couldn't use all the songs that they were using because I felt like if I would have done that, I would have drawn I wouldn't have drawn every I would have drawn everybody out. Like I wouldn't have kept their attention. So I was like, at least let me pick the songs that I like, because it at least go with the mood that I'm used to in my car. You feel me? Or what
Mm.
I put in the stereo, or what I'm gonna put in a party or something like that. So we all know Mace's classics. Uh if you look at some of the like most of the songs that Mace has in the 2000s, they don't compare to the hits that Gucci Man has been a part of or that has, period. So like the song that Gucci Man has with Bruno Mars, there's no song that you can bring up that was as popular, to compare to Gucci Man's song with Bruno Mars, or the one he has with Migos, or any of those guys. But some people look for angles. So then my thing is, I've been judging Mace for a minute about his whole church thing, how he's like kind of a, well, I see him as a fraud. I see him as a fraud because he's a pastor or whatever, and he has these stories where he is there's stories about him like stealing from the church, or not being he when you're a pastor, you have to preach marriage, you know what I'm saying, but then you're breaking up with your wife, and then you're making songs about you know being with
Yeah.
other women that are married. So you're saying in your music that you're dating women that are married, but then you're preaching to your church that you should be, being, marriage is good and blah blah blah. So those things, they bother me. I don't like it. And again, it doesn't discredit him for what he's done in the past. It discredits him for who he is now. So those with that being said, I felt like all this stuff was worked against me.
Mm,
In the group, they were very like it was almost like they were stuck in the 90s. You feel me? And
right.
I love the 90s hip hop, but I can kind of understand where things are at now and where things are how they were back then. Also, there's a lot of hip hop artists from the 90s that are still rapping to this day, like
Hmm.
Jadakiss, Method Man. Uh, there's many. Jay-Z, Nas just made an album.
Right.
These
Oh, that's something
guys.
we should probably review too.
Yeah, and, and
If you're
and I've
not
been
Nas's
listening
King
to the
Disease.
album.
Yeah.
I've been listening to the album. I feel like it should have had more work, and the production was. I think it was really good. I sometimes feel like people they're not really truly listening to it in different ways. Like the test that I was taught with music is to do it with headphones, do it with your stereo, and do it in the car.
Right.
You
Yeah.
won't know the difference of the impact of the music unless you listen to it in different formats or different like settings, or even at a barbecue, as they say, like in the barbecue. You listen to a song, you're like, oh, okay, I really feel this song, like like Summertime Will Smith.
Classic.
You know what I'm saying? Instant,
Classic.
instant classic. You know what I'm saying? So like
Classic.
that's what I'm trying to say. Like um these things, they matter. You feel me? So
I
what do you
listen
think so
to
far of like how I what I'm saying right now? Like what
I
how
mean, yeah, there's gonna be people like stuck in the '90s. I mean, there's good and bad. Like, I think that people probably, as far as writing and emceeing, were probably better in the '90s. You could argue, but at the same time, like all the music, like 99% of it was all samples, so it was less original, in my opinion.
ooh,
But
that's a good point.
you go to this era, the writing might not be as good, but the melody a lot better, and it's more original where they're not using as many samples. They're not, you know what I mean? Like you can I, one thing for me, man, like I went back, listen to Illmatic or any A Tribe Called Quest album, like you don't, when you first listen to those albums, you fall in love with a lot of the concepts and beats and stuff, and then you find like all of it, like every song is
Wow.
not even like original, it's all samples. And for me, that like I don't hold the golden era of the mid 90s to like a high standard as I used to. Like for me, the highest standard of music is like the 1970s R&B and soul, like Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Barry White, Isaac Hayes. So for me, those guys are like the real like tippity top,
Right.
like god
That's how
tier
you
kind of music.
feel.
Yeah,
That's
that's
how
how
you
I feel
feel.
about it.
And
So
there's a
for
heavy
me,
influence on hip hop from that era.
oh
So,
yeah, I mean
they no one can discredit you for that.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
it's almost like it's more than an influence. It's like imitation too of that. Like even
Facts. No, facts.
some guys' biggest hits, Coolio, Gangster's Paradise, that is Pastime Paradise, Stevie Wonder. And it's not like he just took the beat. Nah, dude, he took the hook, he took the bridge. The only thing he didn't take was like his raps, I guess, for it. You know what I'm saying? And there's plenty of artists in the 90s who fall into that category. So
Absolutely.
it's harder to judge in that level, but like here's the thing, man. Hip hop heads are gonna be just like anybody else. Movie buffs, too. Even certain wrestling fans. Like I always tell this joke, like how many hip hop heads does it take to change a light bulb? The answer is three. One to change the light bulb, and then two to complain about how they like the old one better. So
Oh
like
wow.
it's always like the stigma with the '90s. You fall in love with like so many, like just 1995. You had Mob Deeps, the Infamous come out, OCs, Word Life come out. You have so many dope albums that came out in that time that have
Yeah.
this influence to where people can't let that go because hip hop. You could argue, some people would probably argue it's devolved, but I think it's evolved into something where it's more melodic. It's not just about what the lyrics are on it. Like you don't have to exactly be like spitting 16 bars of like some fire shit every
Hmm.
time. It could be different. So and a lot more ad libs, which is something that Gucci Man, I know, although I haven't been a big listener to his actual albums, but like just his singles, that's something that he probably is one of the not a pioneer in the sense that he came up with it, but he's one of the guys that's known for his ad libs for sure, and his music and stuff, doing adding
Ah,
those little extra things. Yeah, adding those little extra things in the music, man. Because
Scoochie.
end of the day, man, like if hip hop was just gonna be, you taking a sample and then just adding like a little kick to it, and you just grab a soul sample, like I'm just gonna listen to the soul then, bro. Like just you know what I mean? Like I'm not
Yes.
like you copy Isaac Hayes and what was it, Funkadelic, so many times that you take so much of their music that it's like I just would rather listen to them because they're the
Yeah.
ones who originally did it. So that's kind of where I'm at with it, where it's like
Yep.
there's definitely that gap there between Mace and Gucci Mane, where Mace's prime was the shiny suit era. It was
Yeah.
late
But
90s, you
but
know what I'm
let's not
saying?
forget the Shea Butter, the whole Shea Butter look when you're on TV and everybody looks the same and they got
Right.
this whole uh I don't know what the guy's name is. He was a director or something. His name was X or whatever, or there's other directors too, but they made
Oh,
everybody
little,
look the
oh
same.
man, I
Beautiful
forgot
black
his
people
name.
on TV, BET videos style,
He did
and
a lot of
everybody.
DMX videos, man. I forget his name, but you're right. X. It's like, man, I gotta look that up. I should have looked that
Yeah,
up
there's a
before.
bunch
But yeah,
of directors out there that would they were trying to have people look the same on TV like
right,
they had it in the movies and it was the same thing. But those things are subjective. Those
right,
things are subjective. That has nothing to do with hip hop in my opinion.
right,
Some of it does, but I don't give a crap about Mace's dimple. Like,
right.
that's you. Like if you that's what you remember him for, cool. If you remember him for his backwards hat, that's dope. It's the same thing with Biggie, with the eye, with the shades, with the Versace sunglasses, I'm sorry. Um, yes, those are things that people remember, but that's because you remember them because it was so long ago.
Yeah, yeah, man. It
Like
was a different time.
like when I'm bringing up the point for Gucci, I don't have to bring up that. Yeah, there's the fat Gucci. Yeah, there's the they call this Gucci a clone Gucci or the sober
Yo,
Gucci. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
You
that's
know.
crazy.
So
Yeah, the
so like
clone conspiracies are crazy, bro.
yeah, like they
There's a
have
lot
the
of those
one
out
with
there right
Eminem
now.
too. They say that with Eminem too
Oh,
that
yeah. Now
this is a
there's
clone.
this year, it started a whole thing of that, which is just another rabbit hole you go into with
Yeah,
the clones and shit.
they've done
So
it with Busy
yeah,
Bone too. They've done it with Busy
what
Bone too.
really?
They've
With
done it with
busy?
Busy Bone.
All
They've
right,
done it
all
with
right,
Busy Bone, bro.
all
Like,
right,
yeah, but like we are hip hop heads, so
all
like
right.
we're gonna bring up things that has been said on the internet, and
You know what, man? I think would be a great versus. My bad to interrupt you, but you
no,
brought
you
up
got it, you
busy,
got it.
man. But something like Bone Thugs against Wu-Tang Clan, I think that would be a pretty fire versus right there, man.
Hell yeah,
I think that would be, and I think it would be closer than people would think because, for me, and I'm a huge Wu-Tang Clan fan, man. Ghostface to me is like top five for me if I had to make a list. But, um, the thing is with Wu-Tang, it's like you have the first album, classic, then you got like if you count the solo albums, they're gonna beat everybody because they had like that whole run where Takao, classic, Iron Man, classic, Only Built for Cuban Links, classic, Liquid Swords, classic, ODB, Return to 36 Chambers, classic. You know what I
especially
mean? So if
Liquid
you
Swords and oh
Yes.
man,
If you count
the
those
production, the
albums,
production was
it's
crazy.
Wu-Tang's probably gonna beat every group ever,
Yeah,
if you count. But what would be more interesting if you just count the group albums? It might get a little bit shaky
that's what
after
I'm
Wu-Tang
saying.
Forever. I mean, the
I agree
W I
with
know
that.
has that Gravel Pit song, and it's got some other joints that are dope for sure. Every one of these albums, we'll call them bad albums, but every one of them probably has like a joint or two that's fucking fire. You know what I mean? But Bone Thugs, yo, East 1999 is a super classic. Art of War,
And them dudes were going
um,
hard. They were going
yeah, it
hard.
was
So
different
like
too. So
the production was I wouldn't say like see this is why it should just happen. Like what you're saying, it should just happen at some point. Someone needs to figure it out and see how we could do it. But I like that there's more people involved now from all sides of
Mhm.
the country and stuff like that to really listen, because that sound, that Cleveland, Ohio sound, that the Busy Bone and Bone Thug sound, that was unique. You feel me?
That's a great point, and I think that brings me to this too. Was when we compare this era's two of the biggest guys, besides Drake, would be Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole, right?
Right.
And I think with Wu Tang and Bone Thugs, you could kind of see the difference using those two. Because J. Cole, to me, he's really dope. But for me, J. Cole is very similar to guys in the mid 90s, that era, where it's almost like he's he's just another version of that in 2020. Or Kendrick, to me, which is why I would probably rate him over him, has his music itself and the production is a whole another level to J. Cole's, who's just, to me,
Yeah.
just sounds like he's just using soul sample, you know, add a kick to it, whatever. You know what I mean? It's been done before. It's been mastered before, and
Yeah.
it's probably been done better, arguably. Although he's a great artist, so I'm not gonna take that away from him. But Kendrick, to
Absolutely.
me, is something different where he uses multiple hooks. His verses are different. It's not just 16 bar hook, 16 bar hook. He has bridges. Just that album, to Pimp My Butterfly, is way different. You know what I mean? Than a huge hip hop album like that sold a lot. By popular artists has been, I don't think you would see someone like Drake take those kind of chances with an album. So I think the dichotomy there with Bone Thugs and Wu Tang is kind of similar, where they're both classic, right? They're both Hall of Famers, but like one of them is a little bit more, I feel, original and different than what everybody else is doing. Like, there's people who try to sound like Kendrick and they falter, like someone like Logic, in my opinion.
Right.
But J. Cole, I feel like is more like a descendant of a long group of MCs that have either done it just as good as him or done it even better. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that kind of where they fall in line at that.
The quick way to like basically break down both guys, in my opinion, Kendrick is more manic when it comes to music itself. Like he's more passionate about everything. Like you said,
Hmm.
like J. Cole, he's influenced by like the basics. J.
Right,
Cole.
right. And there's
He
nothing wrong with
likes,
that, man,
yeah,
because he's
there's
still
nothing
fire.
wrong with that.
He's
And
still fire.
he blacks out in his music too.
Yeah,
J.
in
Cole,
fact, his mixtapes before he dropped his first album, I still listen to those. Like
yes, me
the
too.
warm up, Friday
Yes.
Night Lights,
I love Friday Night Lights. I
yeah,
love it more than his first
classic,
album. I
classic.
love it
Yeah,
more
his
than
his
J. Cole's
first
first album.
album was probably it's probably his weakest album out of the ones he's put
Because
out.
of how much work he put out before that.
Yeah, and
And
it
then
just
you
kind of
got the
seemed,
whole,
Rock Nation kind of molding you from a independent mixtape artist to like, okay, now you're on Def Jam, Rock Nation. Like, we gotta mold you to
yes.
get sure your music videos popular and shit like that. So
And
it was kind
he
of caught
he
in
was
a weird
smart
era.
by putting out that song with Nas, I let
I Let
Nas
Nas
down.
Down. Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was really brilliant for like is these songs, they age well. Like I really like, I really think about those things, like what ages well and what doesn't. And going
Hmm.
back to verses, these things, they matter. You know what I'm saying? For the people that listen to Gucci now, who are the people that listen to Gucci now? The majority are the people in the South, people that are influenced by this type of culture and stuff like that. And to be honest with you, the club and the strip club. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Those are the
yeah. I
people that
mean,
really love that sound.
listen, there's I kind of touched on this earlier, with certain fans, but like for me, for a long time, I kind of dismissed stuff that was on the radio. I always looked at them, oh, those dudes are just whack, they can't really spit
Yeah.
bars. Like I was part of like, nah, man, I like Most Def and Talib and Black Thought, and like almost as if they're the only dope MCs. But it's like you got to take music for more than just bars, man. I mean, if you want just bars, for me, that's why I watch battle rap. Bars and punchlines. I'll go to battle rap. If that's
Yeah.
all I want. But if I want 100 like music too with that, you it's got to be more than bars, man. You got to be able to do more than that. But um, having said that, I think there's a lot of battle rappers who need to learn. You basically, I think for battle rap to grow and get better, battle rappers can't be just battle rappers. They got to be MC, so they got to be able to freestyle. If you're a battle rapper and you can't rock on a beat, take your hip hop card, dog. Like you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
that's weird.
Yeah,
That's
it's
different.
weird, man. And there's been crazily with battle rap too. There's been some of the wackest lines ever, like ever put on like any stage. Like what's homeboy Ness? You remember Ness from Making the
Yep.
Band?
Yep.
He had a battle at Summer Madness 2 in 2012 against DNA. And they all started, the crowds turned on him, started yelling cheesecake, 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 like at him, like just dogging him. But like, bro, you spit a line, I'm crazier than crazy glue. Like,
What
what?
the hell?
I'm more Jamaican than Jamaican food, Raph. I'm more,
Oh
you know what
my
I'm saying?
God.
Like I'm more super than super glue. Like that's yeah, that's like your hip hop
Super
card.
weak.
Super weak, bro. So, yeah, but
That
I kind
reminds
of
me
went
of
weird. I left there, but yeah,
nah, nah, you didn't because you're referring back to what happens in hip hop and being an MC and things like that. Taking it serious, for hip hop heads, because we all have our areas where we go to either listen to things that we always listen to, and then we also have the things that we look for, like a new little basket of
yeah,
music that we can go to. And
exactly.
that's what we do is like we watch the battle raps and stuff like that. So like for example with in the basketball world, there's this dude that can do like this crazy dunk that he does like a 720 or a 800 or some crazy stuff. I forget
Yeah.
his name. He's in the NBA 2K. Like they have his name there, and if you select him, basically you're gonna be doing like crazy spin dunks.
Oh shit.
And
Okay.
yeah, and the funny thing is that he like before all this he did not play basketball.
That's weird. Wow. For real?
He's like
Yeah.
a he's known for jumping. Like that was his thing to jump. And now he plays ball. Now he plays pickup basketball. And he's thinking about a career, but he's not really like looking at it like that. Like he's just like, whatever, I just like to be popular. I like to make money. Um and it's the same thing like with battle rappers. They gotta be MCs, you feel me?
Yeah.
And and going back to the whole versus thing, I feel like yes, Gucci Man is not an MC from New York, or he's not a hardcore lyricist, but
Right.
he's still a rapper though. And
Yeah,
that's
you
the thing,
don't
like,
have to be. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, like
look at
that's
guys back then
yeah.
in the '80s, bro. Not everybody was like Rakim. You had your Ice T's, you had your Biz Marquies, Melly Mel. You know what I mean? You had a Run DMC. You didn't
Not
have like,
everybody
yeah,
had syllables. 2 years ago, a friend of mine. Like
yeah,
that's not
yeah, man.
that's
You
not
not everybody's
syllables.
gonna be the same. That's what
You know
hip
what I'm
hip
saying?
hop is supposed to be different, man. And then even the most, and plus MC means move the crowd too. It doesn't just. He
Right.
has
Yeah,
master
exactly.
a lot of different master
So that's
ceremony and
mood
stuff. So
setting. That comes back to the vibes, as they
yeah,
say. But one thing the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the verses, because obviously there is going to always be a winner and a loser. I felt like I came in knowing that the odds were against me, but
mm,
um, the whole thing where what was I gonna say about this? Like, I feel like all the things that were mentioned about like how Gucci Man is from the South, and like he's never called himself a rapper or whatever, and he all this stuff like that to me means nothing when it comes to making music and being relevant. If you're
right.
known as a rapper and you're making money off of it and you're relevant, then these guys are not too different at all. They're basically like the same. You know what I'm saying? Now, if
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about like a guy like Black Thought or like Lupe Fiasco, where like a conscious rapper.
Right.
Now we're going into two different worlds, but
Yeah, I
these
mean,
guys are
both
the
can
same.
definitely exist, man. Like for sure, cause like thought. Thought might like against Gucci Man. He probably, if they were both like doing one of those hot 97 freestyles, yeah, Thought's probably gonna destroy him. But
Yeah, he's
like,
gonna eat him.
what about like making a shitload of albums and making a hit song and stuff like that? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Thought. I mean, I'm not gonna say Thought can't do that because he's the Roots are probably the most consistent rap group ever. You know what I mean? I don't think they've dropped one bad album. So, but against Gucci, someone who's 13 albums, man, it's like,
74 mixtapes,
yeah, man. I
and
mean,
that's what's on
so
paper.
yeah,
Who knows
it's
about all the
different, man.
freestyles that he erased in his brain?
Right, right.
Saying in the street for some random person, or when he was in high school, and all that stuff, it
Yeah,
counts. It counts. And Mace, he did his thing. The whole murder Mace. I do want to talk about that because I kind of miss that era. Now, when you talk about like when we talk about like Big L, Big Pun, underground Jay Z, underground Nas, underground Pac, underground Biggie. I heard those things. I heard those freestyles that were on the radio, that were recorded from the radio, whatever. But I didn't get that whole phase of Murder Mace. But that doesn't
mm,
mean that I don't know what he is. Like, it all depends on if it ages well. And that's what I'm saying.
mm.
My thing
Yeah,
is,
yeah, man. You're
if
right.
Mace
This
can't perform, he can't perform his all these hit songs. You could play all these hit songs that you want. You could put on the hat backwards, whatever. He cannot perform these songs, and he won't get the justice that he is supposed to get because of what he's done in the background outside of hip hop. That is not the fans' fault. That is falls
right,
on him and his branding. So, being that Gucci did things not the right way, but the way that people would do them now, where you don't have a major label. You feel me?
right.
You go to SoundCloud, you go and open up your trunk of your vehicle, and you say, "Yo, everybody come through, man. I got these CDs right here. I want to see what you guys think. Give me
Right.
your authentic opinion of what you think of my stuff." And if he was trash, he would not keep going.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people thought the same thing with Master P, but like to me, Master P, his first album, or I shouldn't say his first album, but there's an album there that I know of, like that the songs that are on there, that shit, it could bump in any part of this country, yo.
Ice Cream Man. I remember Master P. Those no limit, no limit and Cash Money album covers back in the day, bro.
Yeah, and
Like I felt like they was like coming out like every week, bro. There was yeah. That's the thing, man. Like once you're in the game, like some people just they want to put out content, man, and
Ghetto
they were
D,
one of
it
the
was
fool
Ghetto
to do
D.
that. Ghetto D.
Yep,
Yeah, man. Master P, he's one of those guys, definitely, well, kind of overlooked a lot of the times in hip hop's history, but he'll always
because
have
of
his
the
place,
accent.
especially as of a businessman that he is. I think he'll always be talked about. But yeah, man, was there any other topics that you wanted to hit on before we go?
Well, I just wanted to close out the whole versus thing. I have fun. Ultimately, I have fun. I just want to say that if there's anybody that thinks that Gucci Man could do better than Mace, then I feel like you haven't been listening to him, and you don't really like know his projects. Like, you need to understand like what he represents, what he does on a daily basis. He's constantly putting out music. He's still putting out music.
All right,
So I just wanted to say that, 13 million fans on Instagram, uh, 8 million on Twitter. These things matter. You feel me? In today's age, where whether we're talking about hip hop, uh, we're talking about like athletic, like people that are popular, artists, actors, same thing. These things matter. You know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna be consistent, that that's what's gonna be respected. You know what I'm saying? So that's
for
that's
sure.
it. That's all I had to say.
All right, cool, cool. Well, we're gonna wrap up the show here. Then this week, I want to thank everybody for being out there and listening. Once again, you have any questions, you could send them over to Raf on his Instagram, on his Facebook, Twitter. You could reach me at Front Proof Media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter as well. You have any closing thoughts before we end this?
I want to give a shout out to everybody that's been tuning in. If you want a shout out at the end of our show, leave a comment. Let's see leave a comment saying SummerSlam 2020 or
Mm.
Payback 2020, and we'll give you a shout out at the end of our next podcast. So, like I said, much respects to everybody that's been tuning in. And stay safe out there. Keep grinding. Let's try to keep boxing alive. That's what I always say in the boxing in my boxing videos. So
Hell yeah, man.
big shout out to you guys.
All right, y'all. We'll catch y'all next week.
All right, bros. Peace out.